Shelby Still is now on the channel. This one he's talking about white guilt and identity of innocence. Let's go.
White guilt is the terror of being seen as a racist, as a bigot that now pervades American life. All of our social policy, our culture, everything is touched by this anxiety in most of white America, understandably, given America's history, that they're vulnerable. They have this vulnerability to being disarmed of moral authority by being called a racist. I can use it as a weapon. I can say, you know, I went on a Levin show. Let me tell you the way I was treated. And it explodes. So it constitutes, that is black power. White guilt is black power. They're virtually one and the same. And one of the big problems we have is that you talk about universities and political correctness and so forth. These are all ways in which white Americans say, I'm innocent. I don't feel this way. I'm not a bigot. I'm not a racist. I'm innocent. And white guilt causes this drive to prove and establish innocence. And so then we have a whole generation of black leaders who do one thing and one thing only: milk white guilt.
Could the culture be turning, but the elites digging in?
That's well said.
Because more and more when I watch these debates on television and so forth, people very easily, almost casually, call people they disagree with racists. If they disagree with a political agenda, if they disagree with a particular issue, and most of that's coming from the left.
Yes.
What do you make of that?
Well, it's
Listen, man. Gotta say it, man. That's true. That's true. I think we watched a clip of, who was it? Was it Jordan Peterson was debating? I forgot what his name was. Anyway, because the person, the individual, didn't agree with what Jordan Peterson was saying, he kind of deemed him as racist. I'm like, bro, how you gonna just throw that term out, like, because you don't like what somebody's saying, because you don't like their opinion on certain topics. And within that I was kind of just like, you know, that's where it can become dangerous, man. That's where you know, people who aren't racist kind of have to back up into this shell and you know, defend themselves, you know what I mean? That shouldn't be the way that term is thrown out. So let's get back into it.
And most of that's coming from the left.
yes.
What do you make of that?
Well, it's white guilt is meant to disarm you of moral authority. It's when they scream racism all the time, they're saying you're a racist. You don't have the moral authority to deal with whatever issue or problem we're dealing with because you're a racist, and so therefore you are morally compromised, and your moral authority, you don't have any moral authority. And this is the seduction that people on the left have fallen for. Because whites are still so vulnerable to that charge of being a racist, that is the power, all of the power of the American left is based on that guilt, that susceptibility, that terror of being seen as racist. Not to introduce the presidential campaign, but Hillary Clinton in her deplorables statement, now famous, is a perfect example of saying, these people are bigots and racist. I am innocent. You vote for me, you prove your innocence. I offer you an identity of innocence. Being liberal, being left, is more an identity than anything else. It's the way I think of myself as a decent, civilized human being. And those other people are contemptible. And so it works on a cultural level Now I think the irony is that this is beginning to fade. You see signs of it cracking at this point. That people don't take Maxine Waters seriously anymore. That's not Martin Luther King. When he came along, there were obvious, terrible things, terrible discrimination behind every word he spoke, and everybody knew it, and there was really no debate about it. Racism was everywhere. When the era of Maxine, as some people now call it, there's nothing behind the protest.
But if you have a political mindset or a political party or a political ideology that has to sustain this argument, even though, as you say, this is a horrific past, but we're free. But the Democrat Party, not all the people in the Democrat Party, but many of the spokesmen and leaders of the Democrat Party, they're not free from this.
No.
Is it because they seek to keep people or stigmatize people, or what's that all about?
If the essence of American liberalism, I think, is the pursuit of innocence. Innocence of specifically the ugly American past. And that's why, because I am free of that ugliness and innocent of it, that's why you should vote for me. That's why you should let me change this aspect of the university system. That's why you should let me do any number of other things, not because I have better ideas, that I'm a better problem solver, but because I offer this identity of innocence, which is now I think, big political problem that we have not identified up to this point. But it is that susceptibility, that vulnerability in the political arena. People are going to play on it. They're going to exploit it. And I've seen this, spent my adult life in universities, and you see reasonable, civilized, decent people just fold up. And when the charge of racism is even hinted at, and they begin to sell out the quality of the university, the one thing they invariably always absolutely do is lower standards. Remove Western civilization from the curriculum. What are you doing? You think that's going to make you innocent.
Right.
It makes you stupid.
What are you talking about?
It makes you destructive. And Black Americans, we need to understand the magnificent, careful evolution of Western civilization as much as anybody else does.
Right.
So you're keeping us from it and saying, well, it's not, it's a bunch of white guys. I don't care. I need to know and be informed. I need to identify with Western civilization. I am a Western person. Black Americans are a Western people. We evolved here in the West, thankfully.
In some cases, longer than most other immigrants or peoples who are in this.
Certainly. We've been here since the very, very, very beginning and so forth, and shot the first shot in the Revolutionary War, Christmas Maddox, and so this is it. And now we're in a position, and I understand this as a Black person, when you come out into freedom after that, and society admits it was wrong, and you come out suddenly into freedom, you're going to say, well, something is due me. You did that to me for 3 centuries.
Is something due the person?
And there may be something due. America tried its best to, we've got several $1 trillion on social programs and wars on poverty and so forth. We've tried to do that. And it hasn't worked. And that's the realization I think we're just about getting to, is that, we had a hard time. I had to watch my father be discriminated against in every way. The unions wouldn't hire him, wouldn't take him in. So I know all about it, and there's a part of me that says, whoa, I'm not ready to fully identify with America yet. That's a bit of a stretch. The cold fact is, it doesn't matter. We can't change the past. We can only move into the future. And in the future, we have to identify with this country. It's the greatest country there ever was. There's no, what other system are you gonna go to? And it's hard emotionally for people to say, well, we need to get some sort of a paycheck, something for what we went through, some reparation. That's what reparation, the discussion, it's a psychological sort of imposition of what justice, in some cosmic way should be. But we're
Man. So a couple things here, you guys. A couple things here. I let it run for a while for a reason. I was just sitting back just listening because he's on point, man. But a couple things here. So the first thing is, you know, reparations, you know what I mean? And there's still a big debate on whether, you know, people from slavery descent should get reparations. And to be honest, every time the government steps in to try to assist, like he just said, he literally just said, every time the government steps in to assist people, you wind up only hurting people. They wind up only hurting people, right? And what's the expectation here? Like, are we waiting for Uncle Sam to pass us a $200,000 check and say we're even now, and say, all right, this is it. This is it. Are we even? Are we cool? You know what I mean? And it's just like, that's not gonna solve. That's not gonna. It'll help us. It'll help the majority of us. You know what I mean? To push. I think to push forward. But overall, I don't think that'll help us in the long term. You know what I mean? I think that the best thing the country can do for any race or for any minority is to offer the opportunity to be successful, um, if you're willing to put the work in. That to me, I'm cool with that. If you tell me, if I work my butt off and I do my research and I study and I work hard and I go to school and I get an education and I do all these things and I keep pushing, I stay focused. And now nothing's guaranteed. We all know nothing's guaranteed. But if there's a shot, I can become a millionaire. I can become a billionaire. You know what I mean? And all it requires is some hard work, no shortcuts. I'll take that. I'm cool with that, because that way, when you obtain your finances, when you reach that pinnacle, when you get to that point where you're successful financially, you'll have so much more of an understanding of what to do with the finances, and you won't blow it. Because to be honest with you, if you just give people with money, if you give a kid, say you give a 22-year-old kid $100,000, he blowing that. Now you might have some kids that'll take it, invest it, but the majority of kids, man, they're blowing that cash, man. Majority of, what I'm saying, people, they're blowing that cash. And it's not a race thing, it's just a human thing. If you pass somebody $1 million check, look at the people who win the lottery. They'll win the lottery. They'll win 150 million. Probably bring home 100 million. That's still 100 million. 2 years later, broke. You know what I mean? And that tells you just giving somebody money is not gonna solve the issue, man. But giving somebody an opportunity to that old saying, show somebody how to fish and they'll fish for 1,000 years or something like that, right? That's true. And they'll appreciate the hunt. They'll appreciate the fish. They'll appreciate the process. They'll respect it. So, and once they obtain that cash that they've earned, they'll be more responsible with it. So that's my whole take on that, man. I know it's kind of long. But that's my whole take on that. Let's get back into it.
That kind of justice doesn't very often exist in real life.
Right.
And if you look at history, you see other people have been set free. They didn't get paid off for their suffering. We're not going to get paid off for that.
Right.
And if we keep holding out, demanding that, we will pay the price.
Right.
We'll get weaker and weaker.
Right. Listen, that's all bars he had right there, man. Um, and exactly what I was just saying, you guys. Um, I would not be, as a black person, I would not be sitting back waiting for reparations. Listen, we have one life to live. We have our kids to think about, our family to think about, and we have to be able to make moves right now. We can't be sitting back waiting, and waiting on a check from Uncle Sam. You know what I mean? That's not it. Uh, and I know a lot of people may not agree with that, but it is what it is at this point, man. It is what it is. There was a comment made. Oh, and this is part two. So there's a comment made in the comment section. The guy asked me if I could find it. I posted. He asked me, since I've been watching a lot of Time of Soul, am I would I consider myself a conservative? And I was kind of like my whole life I've been on the left side of things. You know what I mean? And I'm just not recently, like over the last 10 years, trying to take it more like politics more serious. You know what I mean? So to be honest with you guys, I'm more focused on finding the truth. I'm more focused on finding real solutions to real problems. I don't really care what side they come from. I don't really care if they come from blue, red, green. That don't matter to me. I think once you get tied into the sides, in my opinion, is when you take your first step back. I would rather find the facts, listen to people who make sense, listen to people who like to solve problems, listen to people who are proven to solve problems, and walk away from that. You know what I mean? And stand on that. So that's where I'm at with that. And it just happened to be so that I'm watching a lot of conservative people on the channel, but that's just the way it is, man. And that's just how it played out. So I'm gonna continue to search for the facts and continue to listen to people who are logical and who are thinkers, and that's just the way it is. I don't really, to be honest, I don't really care what side they're on. To be honest with you guys, um, because I've seen people show their worst sides, their hatred for one another over political parties because they don't agree with their perspective or their vision, and destroy the fabric of community and fellowship and brotherhood within our society. And that's kind of, you know, I definitely don't agree with that. I think that people should be able to disagree. You know how it goes, disagree, and still have some type of respect for each other, and still be able to solve problems together, which our government at this time is just not trying to do. They, they're more focused on going viral. They're more focused on telling lies to manipulate the masses, and to control us. You know what I mean? And I think we're just now starting to get out of the grip of media. You know what I mean? And that's what this channel is all about. So stick with your boy, man. Anyway, if you made it this far in the video, make sure you guys click like, subscribe to this content. I've been reading you guys' comments. If I don't reply back, if I heard it, I read it. All right, I got y'all. So until next time, y'all be easy out there. Peace.